The other day, I sat down and counted my credits, and in total, I've ridden 60 roller coasters across North America. I also determined that a sixth of these coasters were of the wooden variety. From Golden Ticket Awards to Ace Roller Coaster Landmarks, there's nothing better than a good old-fashioned Woody. Or is there? Today, I'll be ranking the wooden coasters that I've been on, as of August 2022, from worst to best. Starting the list at number 10 is a coaster from my home park, Lake Compounce, that goes by the name of Wildcat. This 1927 PTC Woody, although having been declared an Ace roller coaster landmark, is often considered one of the worst coasters in the world. I think that there is definitely an age factor that makes people incapable of tolerating this ride. I've ridden this coaster 11 times, 8 times in 2019, twice last year, and once this year, making it the coaster I've ridden the most out of any roller coaster. Despite both trains being Millennium Flyers, I feel that the striped trains run rougher than the spotted ones. The 8 times I rode in 2019, I don't really remember all that much, as I wasn't yet an enthusiast, but I remember them being pretty janky. I also remember them being the striped trains. Last year they had the striped trains running as well, and I remember it being quite rough with those. But I got my first ride with the spotted trains this year, at night. I really could only remember one part that actually hurt with the spotted trains, and that was the beginning of the first turn after the drop. Other than that, it wasn't as rough as last year, but it still wasn't good, which is why it's at the bottom of my list. At number 9, we have the Wilde Beast at Canada's Wonderland. 90% of enthusiasts will say that Wilde Beast is worse than Mindbuster, and I definitely agree. Hell, I think it's worse than Ghoster Coaster. I got a second row seat on this ride, and it wasn't rough as much as it was violently bumpy. It felt like the train had square wheels. There was only very slight airtime, and there wasn't anything else notable. The ride opened with the park back in 1981, along with Dragonfire, Thunder Run, Ghoster Coaster, and the Mighty Canadian Mindbuster, and I'd say that this is the only one of those that screams, "Replace me!" Coming in at number 8, we've got Ghoster Coaster at the same park. This is the same coaster as Woodstock Express at its 3 of its sister parks, Carowinds, Kings Island, and Kings Dominion. This is the last remaining Ghoster Coaster in all of the Cedar Fair chain, the other having been renamed to Woodstock Express at Kings Dominion. This 39-foot PTC wooden coaster was, as previously stated, an opening day attraction, and dare I say has held up better than Wilde Beast. I was given a pleasant surprise on this ride as the drops supplied actual intensity, something I certainly wasn't expecting. My whole family enjoyed this ride, and I hope you can ride it with yours. For the number 7 spot, we traveled down to Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts, where you'll find Thunderbolt. I've noticed this ride comes in second in way too many categories. It's the second oldest coaster in the Six Flags chain, opening in 1941. The oldest is Wild One at Six Flags America, opening in 1917 at Paragon Park, and being relocated to Maryland for the 1986 season. It's the second highest ranked PTC coaster on this list, no spoilers at what's in front of it. It has the second longest lines in the park, behind Pandemonium. It's the second roller coaster to be built in the first half of the 20th century on this list, the first being Lake Compounce's Wildcat. It's the second coaster on this list that's been given the Ace Roller Coaster Landmark title. Those are just a few examples. This is the only wooden coaster in the park, standing at 70 feet and maxing out at 40 miles an hour. If you want to get the credit, I do recommend riding this first thing of the day, as the lines get absurdly long as the day goes on. It's a good ride, and I'm happy to have it within an hour's travel from my town. Sliding into the number 6 spot, we have Hershey Park's very own Comet. I'm proud to say that this was my first ever wooden roller coaster, as I rode it back in 2018. I remember it being very fun. I went back to Hershey Park last year and got on with an enthusiast mindset. After the second drop, I twisted my back and pulled something, but the ache didn't last for long. I took note of the impressive amount of bunny hills, the interactions with Skyrush, and the scenery around the ride. Trees were very nicely situated next to the track, and the turnaround to head back towards Skyrush gives a great view of passers-by below. Despite being the oldest coaster in the park, the beauty of when PTC does a coaster right is that a ride can last for ages. Comet shows no difference, as it's still going strong to this day. Starting off the top half of the list, we've got a potentially controversial opinion. We'll head, or rather, would have headed to the back of the same park for the recently defunct Wildcat. This opened as GCI's first ever roller coaster in 1996 and set a starting point for one of the top wooden coaster manufacturers in the world. This ride isn't really intense. While the layout might have been fun in '96, it doesn't hold up to modern day standards. However, I did still enjoy this ride. It was my first ride of the day when I got on it last year, and I'm proud to say that it is my one and only defunct credit. When I learned of its closing, I was a bit disappointed, but I knew it was coming, and I'm excited to see what RMC has in store for Hershey. In the number 4 spot, we've got another historic coaster representing New York City. The famous Coney Island Cyclone was designed and built by Harry C. Baker Manufacturing and will replace the Giant Racer. This ride boards its passengers in a fill-up fashion as you are placed in the next empty seat. Riders ascend to the National Historical Landmark's 85-foot hill and hit a maximum of 60 miles an hour at the foot of the drop. It personally astounds me how the coaster gains so much speed while having the same height as the aforementioned Lake Compound's Wildcat, which is 12 miles per hour slower. I rode this with my mom last year when we went to Luna Park, and she said she definitely wasn't expecting that intense of a ride. What I found funny is that the turns are very quiet, so you can easily hear the person next to you talking at a normal volume. Try it out next time you get a ride. Starting off the top 3, we have the mighty Canadian Mindbuster back up at Canada's Wonderland. I did a more in-depth review of this coaster in my Canada's Wonderland video, so go watch that for my opinion on this ride. I will say that it is underrated and not nearly as rough as people say it is. I also would like to mention that this is an in-house coaster, and for an in-house coaster, it is pretty good. We revisit Hershey for our number 2 coaster, Lightning Racer, the 7th best wooden coaster in the world, according to Trip Savvy. This was the US's first ever wooden dueling coaster, and for a while was one of 2 GCI coasters in the park. I was only able to ride the Thunderside when I got on, and we did win the duel, so I got off the ride satisfied. Despite being 15 feet shorter in height than Wildcat was, it somehow managed to be faster and much more fun. The dueling elements definitely help with the excitement, practically amplifying the adrenaline by 2. Win or lose, it's a fun ride. It just doesn't top my number 1. To end off this list, we circle all the way back around to Lake Compounds for one of the top 10 best woodies in the world since 2001, Boulderdash. Boulderdash is a CCI woodie that's won 5 golden tickets for Best Wood Coaster in 2004 and from 2013 to 2016. It rivals Dollywood's Lightning Rod for the best terrain coaster, and the trees surrounding the ride are perfect. The turn after the first drop is barely banked, giving some great lateral forces. The ride is full of floater and ejector as well. As you fly through the trees, this ride will make you feel like you're going to hit one of them. I've ridden this coaster thrice, twice in 2019 and once last year. My first ride was great, and it was one of the coasters that made me an enthusiast. My 2021 ride didn't disappoint either. Every moment up until the final breaks is filled with fun, and without it, neither I nor Lake Compounds would be the same today as it could have been. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe, as I'm just starting out on this platform. If you disagree, please feel free to leave your opinions in the comments so we can compare. And ladies and gentlemen, until next time.